Banana slam jam.
Why are you here? Like, what do you feel like's happening?
So I wanted to climb to Divine because it's just one of my goals, and I feel like I'm stuck. I I think I do okay in the laning phase, but I really struggle in the mid game decisions, and also some of the fights I take in the late game is kind of sometimes I feel like I throw the game myself.
Cool. I have a lot of experience in that as well. So, yeah. So do you have some replays ready, and we can get going? Let's see what here we got. A Centaur against a Marana safe lane? Yeah, Marana safe lane. Interesting. Okay.
Actually, it was a Luna.
Oh, that's a oh my god! I got confused because they're right next to each other. Holy shit! I was like, wait, what? They look so much alike too. Holy shit. Okay, yeah, that's funny. They're right next to each other and they look so much alike. I thought it was a Marana safe lane. I was like, oh, okay. So we're against Luna safe lane, Centaur. I like Centaur against Luna. Luna doesn't like when the enemy team can kind of like commit onto her, so Centaur makes him pretty good against her. Let's see how it goes here.
Your turn to battle. Prepare for battle.
Okay.
It's an open secret.
Reasonable starting items. Your Marana has a Bassi.
In the bag.
Don't like this, but it's alright. Not your items, so.
Okay.
30 seconds.
Gonna keep fast forwarding through a nice 2 DCs. Wow.
I think it paused for like 5 minutes.
Okay, we got a 16 exit here.
Thanks.
Okay.
The battle begins.
Okay, get a nice little start at the rune.
First blood. Thanks and have fun.
In the water. Time to feed.
Okay. So it's kind of funny. You're posturing aggressive a decent amount, but you're not doing it at all at the right times. So like this is the perfect time right here to posture aggressively. Do you know why? When I say posture aggressively, I mean walk at the guy. Do you know why?
Because their creeps are hitting the range creeps.
Yeah, the range creeps. Your range creep is getting hit, and his melee creeps really low, right? So what that means is that if he stays where he is, what happens? If you walk at him, because he has to stay there, right? If he wants that range creep, and he also has to stay there if he wants to deny that melee. What happens if you walk at him?
He has to choose between getting hit by me or run away and not have that creep.
Okay, and if he hits you back, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the kind of situations as any laner that we're trying to force. Where if he hits me back, great. If he runs away, great. If he sits there, great. This is a perfect opportunity where if he stays there, you walk at him first, right? Why do you not A-click him right now?
Then the creeps will not be hitting the other creeps and will be hitting me instead.
Okay,
And then they will...
so when should you A-click him at the earliest? Like to drag aggro.
The creeps are like 2 hits away from dying.
That's reasonable, but I think the earliest possible is when your own range creep is below half. Because if he backs
Okay.
off and it's below half, then you turn around and deny it, right? Like you turn around and hit it twice and deny it. So the idea here is that because of the lane, because of the health of the creeps, this is like a perfect opportunity to run at him because the health of the creeps tells you where the opponent wants to be, right? Luna, very short-ranged hero. She has no choice. Like she leveled her passive, I think. Oh, she leveled beam, but I haven't seen her use it yet. So at the very least, make her beam this range creep. You know, like make her use resources. That's fine. We don't really care if she does that. But at the same time, all you're doing, I know you have 66 damage and a coiling blade, but you're allowing her to get a chance to right-click deny your melee creep, like the one that you want to get. I look at this situation and say she shouldn't be allowed to sit there. You should just walk at her. If Chen was like on top of you hitting you, that's like one thing. But Chen's not close enough to you to like dissuade. He's over here on the right? Like he's way in the trees to the right.
Yeah.
So if you're like aggressing on her on the left side of the lane and Chen walks at you too, you're kind of just gonna walk away. Like that's what you're gonna do. And if you're forcing the support to do that, great. But either way, I saw this and I see there's moments in the lane where you're trying to posture aggressively. So that's good, but I want you to do it at the right times. So usually the best times to do it is based on creep health. And if you do it too late, she'll be able to last hit the creep and walk away. If you do it too early, then maybe you can't deny your range creep. You know? Like maybe you'll force her away, but you don't actually get anything out of it. So it kind of has to be like the right time. Okay? So just think about it that way. So notice how she kind of gets that free deny. And I think she should get bullied away from you there. And a lot can be done by the good old walk at him play. Okay, so... Let's see.
Dire's courier has been
Same thing there. Right here. Why are you posturing behind the creep? Like, posture, like, a little above this melee creep that's in front. And if she walks forward, you hit her. If she hits you once, you get a return, and then you hit the creep, right? Like, or retaliate or whatever. Right. You're letting her position herself in range of the creep where you're not even close enough to hit her once. You know, like, I'm not telling you to stand where she wants to stand, but be close enough to stand there. Make her a bit on edge, you know? Make her be like, oh, like, if I walk up to deny this, maybe I'll get hit. And if you leave somebody constant on edge, they're going to make random mistakes. They're going to be out of position randomly. And then once you if you capitalize on it like 2 or 3 times, suddenly they're dead. Like, that's just how it works. Like, usually it takes a few of those to punish. So I'm just noticing that, like, while creeps are getting low, you're just you're very passively positioned while the creeps are getting low. It's like, now you run at her, but that didn't do anything. You see what I'm saying? Like, based on the creep health, you running at her there did nothing. But if you run at her during the times I told you, you're either going to secure a CS or you're going to secure a deny. So definitely have to really adjust your timing of running at the person. Because you clearly understand you can do it, but you're not doing it at the right time. Okay, moving on. Okay. The best offlaners are the ones that are always in my face. Like, those are the ones that I get annoyed laning against as a carry. And if I know if I walk up for that CS, I'm going to get hit twice or, you know, something like that. Okay. It takes a toll at the end. Eventually, at like 5 minutes, they kill me, is what happens. If it happens, like, if they're good enough at it. Like, eventually, I'll either have to ferry out, like, 2 extra salves, or I'll just die. Okay. Okay. Like, that was good. See, you zoned her away from the creep. You could have done that level 1. You know, like, that was good, though. You clearly have an idea of when that you can do it, which is good.
Right.
Okay.
bad luck.
Based on what you see going on, are you like doing anything to this Luna right now?
No.
Okay. So, in hindsight 2020, you see what's going on with the supports. You see that, right? Like, are you noticing this in game?
I don't know where she went.
Did you look at your minimap right now?
Right.
What are the
She's
supports
in
doing, right? What are they doing?
The supports in the jungle.
They're just both fucking with each other over. Like, I don't even give a shit what they're doing. I just see 2 of them, right? Like, I just see this. Like, some random crap's going on over here. So, what's the situation in your lane? You're 1v1, right? Are you, with your item, are you running at her and diving her and shit? Like, with the way you built, what did you build to do here?
To sustain the lane?
Okay, and with sustain, what can Centaur do with that? Like, when the opponent, like, what's Chen being here stopping you from doing?
standing behind the tower and tanking all the creeps.
Yeah, you can just tank all the creeps behind tower, and then you can kill the small camp too, and then you can, at the 4-minute mark, kill another camp. You know, like, you can just play ultra efficient because the sustain that would be normally used to counteract the Chen hitting you could now be used to counteract creeps hitting you, right? Like, that's all it's going to do is cancel out the creeps hitting you. My point being here is not that I want anybody who has a hero like this to start cutting at this moment, but based on your items, can you do anything to Luna right now? Like, she's just faster than you, right? Like, she's just gonna run away from you. Maybe you can disrupt her a bit, but I would argue that once you get 6, that's like a huge timing for you, and I like to play for myself on Centaur. You know, like, obviously if there's moments that I can be aggressive, great. If you were gonna be aggressive, you should have bought boots and, you know, maybe like the chainmail. Like, that would have been the right build if you wanted to be aggressive. And at this moment, after the game, if you said, oh, maybe I should have... Like, I wanted to be aggressive on Luna here. What would be your solution to that?
I guess I'll rush phase.
Yeah, like, you just get phase as early as possible, right? So all I'm saying is, I want your items to very clearly reflect what you think you're supposed to do in this lane. So, like, if I'm an Axe, if I'm a Centaur, if I'm going to get this first item, Ring of Health, which I don't think is terrible, like, I don't even care one way or the other, I want you to see, like, okay, I want to cut, because that's, like, how efficient, that's like, the most efficient play for me. And if I'm going to cut, when can I cut? How greedy can I play? How many creeps can I tank, like, before, you know, I run out of sustain or whatever? The point is, like, I'm playing this Ring of Health to sustain in lane and farm. Now let's push that to the limit based on whatever's going on in the game. And if you have the luxury of being an Axe or a Centaur with the opponent's support just being removed from the game, like, that's great. Like, that's actually the dream, in my opinion. So, definitely right here, I wouldn't even care about Luna. I would just let my creeps tank, and since I don't have boots, I'm just going to walk past her. You know, I'm just going to walk through the tower, cut the creep wave right around where your ward is, and then, you know, go tank the small camp with it. And then once you buy boots, once you get 6... you can look to turn that into an aggression move on Luna, right? Like, at that point, maybe instead of just cutting, you're also looking to run at her at certain options. But the emphasis I'm giving, I know I've already mentioned it and I'm repeating myself, the emphasis I'm giving is, even if you want to be aggressive, if your items don't allow you to do it, it's just not an option. So let's not try to do something we can't do. You know, there's a lot of moments in my lanes where I'll be like, I should have done this, or like, I'd like to dive this guy, but I just can't. It's like, if I just can't, you know, if I can't shut the other guy down, there's really only 2 options when I feel strong or whatever. I can either try to shut the other guy down or accelerate my game as fast as possible. So as an offlaner, I'll usually lean towards shutting down the opponent guy, but if I'm these, like, creep-cutting heroes like Axe and Centaur, if there's an opportunity to accelerate my game, man, Centaur can carry the fuck out of the game. Like, he can carry if he's, like, super fat at, you know, 12 minutes in or whatever. He can carry super hard. Okay, so let's see. Good kill. I think the exact same thing could happen if you're just cutting creeps and then underneath her tower. You know, I think that exact thing could happen. So I'm not saying anything other than I like that you did that play, but I don't think the way you landed changed anything there. Okay, so Luna got a kill now. Let's rewind here. I was fast forwarding through that while I was talking about the previous play. So you're tanking a lot of damage. Okay. Kind of just unfortunate there. Okay, so he doesn't have... That double kill's a big deal, obviously. But he doesn't have Eclipse right now. What I've noticed is every time I miss that opportunity to cut, it just kind of never happens again. Like, right now, I don't feel good to cut again. Because Luna's strong, Chen's here all the time. I have Centaur ultimate, so I'm going to run at her now instead of cut. So this looks good. Cool. Got a nice gank with your Disruptor. Gonna take the tower. The nice thing about cutting is, especially on Centaur because of Retaliate, you just eventually take the tower. And if you do it efficiently enough, the tower's gonna die sooner. Like, even sooner. Okay, so...
Yep.
You... At this point, Centaur, would you deem him like a rotating hero or like a chill hero?
I think I need Link Dagger before I can rotate.
For the most part, in an ideal scenario, would you chill or would you rotate?
That was good of you.
I think I'll chill.
Okay, so that's exactly what Centaur does. Let's just confirm this, because I like to think about heroes as like, what do I do if it's possible? If it's allowed, what do I do? The Centaur, we're chilling. Poor Man's Shield, obviously a nice item. Because you don't have ult, and Luna does have ult, I'd be letting him have this farm. I'm just going to accept he gets this, okay? If it's the other way around, you should walk at this guy. Like, that's kind of how I look at it. There's a small camp there, isn't there? It's not there. Okay, so that's why you're walking at him here. This seems scary to me. I don't like this, but...
I think I died after this.
Yeah, I think he could have just had one TP in and you're going to die. That's how I look at it. Because he threatens you and you don't threaten him. Even if you don't die here, this is just an example of something where only a bad thing could happen to you here. You're never killing him, and then this. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So it's like, being very aware of who threatens who is really important. Because a lot of times, most cores can't just solo kill each other. Okay, like most of the time that can't be the case. But if that hero represents a threat on me, it's almost always natural for the opponent's supports to just rotate on me, right? Like, why wouldn't they? It seems so free. Like, if I'm a support player and I have, let's see, like an offlane Brew against PL, for instance, like, if that PL wants to lane straight up against Brew, I'm just going to show up. And then the Brew's going to ult and the PL's going to die to me plus the Brew, right? Like, that's going to happen every single time. And so, like, an example of that, when I played PL against Brew, this was, like, maybe last week, I was, like, kind of dictating the game, like, meaning, like, I was telling chat about what I was thinking. And I was like, I can't lane here. Like, I can't walk up to this guy, because if I walk up and there's somebody there, I'm just going to die. And I know that. And so the important thing is to just say, if we walk at each other, what happens? If we walk at each other and there's one guy behind him, what happens? You know, all these different possible things. And if you're not a threat on him, who cares what you're doing here? Like, you're not pressuring him. He's not scared of you, right? Like, if he's not scared of you, you're not effectively accomplishing anything. So it's like, it's kind of like before you have boots. It's like, you're not threatening this Luna. Why worry about pressuring his farm? Just, usually my idea is, if you're not able to threaten him now, there has to be some point where you do. Whatever hero you are, there has to be some point. Whether or not it's waiting for your ultimate, whether or not it's when you get a blink dagger. Sometimes it has to be like 3 or 4 minutes from now. You know, like, it could be a while, whatever. There has to be some point where if you don't think you can do something, when can I do it? Like, whatever it is, threaten the guy, push a tower, take Roche, whatever it is, when can I do it? And I always, like, am in this farm mode or, like, dodge mode, whatever, until that moment that I've guessed happens. You know, it's like, I think I'm strong enough to go now. And obviously, I'm wrong plenty of the time, too. Like, it's not like my calls are perfect. But the point is, I have this, like, solidified idea that I can go with this timing. And if I'm wrong, I'll learn very clearly why I was wrong. Maybe I didn't think about one of them having a blink dagger. Maybe I didn't think about, you know, the scariness of the Luna ult killing me, and once I blinked it, you know, whatever. Sometimes I just fuck up the blink, and I'm like, okay, the play was fine, but, you know, I messed up the play. Whatever. There's a lot of things you can learn from that line of thought. So, overall, though, I'm just trying to tell you from a carry player's perspective how I view it. And if you're running at me and I know you don't kill me because you don't have ult yet, I'm going to hit you back. And if I know I can hit you back, then I'll usually even call for somebody. I'll be like, this Centaur can't be here. And then I'm just going to, you know, if my team rotates at all, I'm just going to kill you. Okay, so back to farming. I think after that death, the Vanguard's a misplay. I think your farming time is going to be potentially too long now. I think Crimson's like a pretty good item this game. They have Luna and Chen, but they also have TA, who Crimson's not that great against. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay. You guys end up killing the Luna.
Killing spree.
Disruptor didn't have mana to ult. That face. Okay. Reasonable play. Be careful of walking through the Shrine Vision when you're invis. I think you might have. It was very close. Reasonable play, though. But yeah, I think your farming stage is going to last too long if you go for this Vanguard. That's kind of a feels thing. Like, usually I say, like, how long do I want to farm for? How long can I afford to farm for? And the only time I really go Vanguard on like Axe or Centaur is when I'm actually farming so fast, like I'm having such a good start, that if I were to rush Blink, I don't even want to be done farming yet. You know, like, it's like if I rush Blink, I'll just be forcing it. A lot of times that's based on like your other heroes too. It's like, if I have a PL and I get a 9-minute Blink on Centaur, now what? You know,
so usually you would just skip, like get the Ring of Health and then get the Blink.
yeah, well, the point is that like sometimes on Axe, I'll just go Phase Boots Blink Dagger. You know, I play more Axe than Centaur, but I think of them very similarly. Okay, Centaur is a bit greedier though. You know, Centaur likes to farm past that stage, because past like the 15-minute mark, Axe can't really show on lane anymore. Like, that's how Axe functions. Centaur doesn't really mind showing on lane. My point being here is, like, if you need a Ring of Health to farm efficiently enough to get your Blink, then buy a damn Ring of Health, you know? Like, I'm not telling you to skimp out. But if you die, and you buying a Vanguard is going to delay your items even 1100 more, Vanguard is a very snowbally item. It's like, if you have a 6 or 7 minute Vanguard or whatever, you're like unfucking killable, and the amount of farm you can accrue in the next 5 minutes is like astronomically higher just because you just don't die to anything, right? You just walk around the map killing as many creeps as you possibly can. But at this stage, Vanguard's really not that potent, right? You saw, like, they ganked you, or like you had a 4-on-4, you died pretty quick. Like, you died in a reasonable fashion. So the thing that Vanguard provides for you to, like, quote-unquote accelerate your Blink just doesn't apply anymore. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't give you the luxury that it did if you got it at, like, 7-8 minutes or whatever. So at this point, because you had died that one time to Luna, I think going for the Vanguard simply slows your Blink down by 1100 gold. Because super early on, maybe it doesn't slow your Blink down by 1100 gold, because maybe because you have this Vanguard, you can play that much more aggressive and you can get 400 gold more worth of items in the next 2 minutes. And then in that case, it only slowed it down by 700, so you got a discounted Vanguard. You know, like that. Like, that's almost how I would look at it. So right now, I think your decision to go bottom is reasonable. It's your jug. Why is it your jug? That goes bottom. Here, out of all your heroes.
Because he needs to farm?
Both of you need to farm, and both of you are pretty survivable. Like, both of you don't really mind getting dove. So the question is, if your jug's being active, I would probably walk here and be ready to show up to a fight. If my jug's chilling bottom, I'd be doing what he's doing right now, where I'd be walking at mid tower and doing exactly what he's doing, where you're just looking to make aggressive plays. You don't necessarily need to dive. But the point is, if like jug's farming bottom and you're farming jungle, what's the opponent gonna do? The answer is whatever the fuck they want. Like, that's the answer, right? If Jug's farming bottom, that's not actually doing anything, right, to farm bottom. Like, it's just getting farm. That's what we talked about. That, like, the dead lane idea is that you're farming there, it's great, you're getting a net worth, but it's not doing anything. It's not forcing the opponent to do anything. So it's fine if somebody wants to farm there.
Right.
But if that's happening and you are also jungling, then the opponent can just do whatever they want. They can choose to gank you, they can gank the jug, they can farm 3 jungles, like, they can do whatever they want. And so how easy is it to read their movements when you do that? Right? It's just impossible. Like, you have no way of knowing whatever they're doing. And that's why, like, when I say, yeah, if one of you wants to farm bottom, that's fine, but then the other one has to represent some sort of threat on mid. Just like, it can just be poking and prodding, you know, like, it doesn't have to be some committed push. But, like, as long as you're forcing somebody to be mid, then the person bottom's much safer, the opponent's constantly worried about responding to you. That's great. So all I'm saying is, you choosing to farm bottom here is reasonable, but I also want you to kind of have an idea in terms of mid-game rotations. If your jug was farming here, what you would want to do. So just making sure you're on the same page there. Okay, so you show up to this fight. I think that's reasonable. Nice, they didn't have detection, but as you saw, this Vanguard not very impactful versus TA. Okay.
Doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So, you show up. I think it's reasonable that you show up. Maybe a bit forced, but because you are an offlaner, I think it's more so that you just have this Vanguard instead of a Blink. You know, like that 1100 gold could have just been a Blink. Maybe you'd be 100 gold off your Blink bottom, and you'd be less inclined to show up. You know, whatever. At this point, like, you kind of need to fight, or you need to be kind of ready to fight, and because you don't have a Blink, it also feels super weird. So it's like, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
that's how you learn, though. You feel like you want to fight, but you don't have the tool necessary. Let that adjust your decision-making. You don't always have to rush Blink in certain games. Like, if you buy Pipe and you're just, like, unfucking killable because you have a Pipe, like, just go one, you know? Like, you can be absolutely unkillable. But in this game, I don't believe there's an item build you can go that makes you unfucking killable. Like, they have a pretty good mix of physical and magical damage, and it's a lot of damage overall. So you guys are forcing a fight into Tidehunter bottom. That's a bit scary to me, but Luna is top, so it should work. Okay. When I say it should work, it should be about as good as it could be, because Luna's not there. But at this point, I don't really mind that you're fighting. You guys want to force Ravage out of them? Sure. You know, I think this is fine. Oh, that's... Ooh, shiny things. Okay, so you have Blink now. Let's see where you choose to go. Let's see what you choose to do.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
A
attack.
gift from the tempest of battle.
Okay. Cool. I think what you were doing there was fine. You have a ward in your own jungle, so you get to play 2 lanes. That's how the dead lane idea works. You get to play 2. You guys have warded bottom and mid. So those are the 2 lanes you're playing. You are farming between the 2, ready to fight. Reasonable. Like, I have to make sure you understand why your, you know, positioning on the map was reasonable there. You're not really the fight starter right now. If you blink into their heroes, what happens to you?
I get blown up.
You just kind of die, right? If you're not the fight starter, meaning like you can't start fights, it's not because it's not some unique skill that it takes to recognize this. I just ask myself, if I blink in first, what happens to me? And if the answer is I kind of just die, I don't want to do it. I don't want to be the first. If there's no other option, meaning that if you don't do it, the fight's never going to start, what's your solution there?
Counter initiate.
It is either counter initiate or you're just going to have to throw your body for the boys, right? Like, just throw it in there. And those are the kind of games where I might go like Ghost Scepter or Yules, you know, like some crazy item that just allows me to survive for 3 extra seconds. Like, I've done that on Axe and shit, where I know I have to go first, and if I go in first, I'm just gonna fucking die. So my next item after Blink will just be some item that gives me an extra 3 seconds, and sometimes that can save you, right? Especially if the opponent has like really heavy burst damage heroes like Luna and TA. Someone in chat's probably saying, "Hurt dirt, buy a blade mail." It's like, no, TA's just gonna meld strike you and kill you, right? Like, it doesn't do much, right? Yeah, like the blade mail against Luna, whatever. Like, she's gonna have a BKB. It's not an item that you're not doing this to like tank their damage. You're doing it to like force them to react to you, and then punish them for reacting, right? Like, don't let them kill you in that quick reaction that they gave. So my point being, though, is in this game you don't want to go first, right? Like, can you kind of feel that in this game?
Right.
Did you ever think that or no? Did you ever think that
really.
At this point? Okay, it's really important in fights as an offlaner to think, do I want to go first? Am I second? What's like the necessary hero I would have to see to go first? You know, if I'm a Legion and they have a Wyvern and I don't see Wyvern, I'm never going first. You know, that's like an example of that, because if I just if I go, the Wyvern's going to cold embrace the guy, and then what? So that's also a reason why in certain matchups you don't pick cores against supports, right? Like, you don't want to pick Legion against like Wyvern or Shadow Demon or Oracle, because it makes it harder for you to play fights. But like against like Chen and Pudge, I think Centaur's a nice pick, because those heroes don't stop your kit. You know, they don't counter you. So they have to pick cores that counter you. But honestly, core-to-core counters, whatever, as long as you can play around the supports, it's like you can still stun that core. So whatever. So point being, though, is think about who goes first. And in this game, since you don't want to go first. I said if you don't want to go first, but you absolutely have to, you kind of just have to throw your body in there. But do you have to go first this game? Who could go first?
Maybe a Mirana arrow can start the fight.
How about like a Searing Chains into Arrow, right? Like an Ember Spirit Searing Chains into Arrow combo. Maybe a Disruptor gets a Q on a guy and they're forced to run away and then he glimpses them back into a Static Storm, right? There's other sources of starting this fight for you. Your Ember, albeit, can be a squishy hero, they have no stuns. So, like, no insta-cast, single-target stuns. Like, they have Dismember and shit, but honestly, if the Ember's decent, he should never die to that shit. So, my point being is that there's other heroes on your team that are kind of survivable. There's other heroes that can poke and prod. You don't have to feel rushed to commit to fights. Somebody may say, like, oh, he just got carried. His team just, like, started the fight for him. I would argue you can't start fights right now. And I don't want you to feel like you could. Like, you could maybe start a gank. You could start, like, a pick-off if there's a guy that's alone. But in actual fights, if you blink in, you're just going to die. And recognizing your own limitation in that way is actually really important. Because there's plenty of games where I've lost discipline, I've lacked discipline, and I just, like, blink in out of frustration, or I feel like I'm useless, so I just blink in and I die. And if I just, like, let somebody else go first, I could have had a lot more impact in the fights. So, let's see. I know I just went on a long talk there, but we killed people. Your team seems dedicated to pushing this tier 2. I guess since you have Jug Healing Ward, not bad. Okay, we get it. So Centaur ultimate. They still have everything. We gotta chill a bit. So you do go for the Crimson. At this point, I would say Crimson counters what? Who does Crimson deal with here?
10 creeps and the Luna Glaze.
Okay, so it's their physical damage from Luna and Chen. So, when it comes to being an offlaner, now that we've talked about this game a bit, what do you think should be your next priority to deal with, if possible?
I think I went for Pipe for the magical burst from Luna.
But is there something more pressing that's a problem than Luna's ultimate right now?
TA?
Yeah, don't you get like 4-shotted by TA? Right? So, what's an item that kind of deals with Luna ultimate, but deals with TA? Can you buy enough armor to make her not kill you pretty fast? At least right now, at the stage in the game. Like, could you go, like, Shiva's or AC? Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Is there any other item you can think of that deals with TA that kind of helps with Luna? My chat seems to know. Halberd. If TA blinks on you and you halberd her, you also get an extra 320 health from the halberd. Okay, so it's like, kind of helps against the Luna. But mainly, right now, if I blink in, I'm not really going to die to Luna. Let's just be honest. I'm not going to die to Luna. I'm going to die to TA blink meld striking me and killing me instant. Like, killing me in, like, one stun. I'll die during Ravage to the TA. That's what's going to happen. So I would buy a halberd here. Because it also, like, the way I die to TA is one stun, and the halberd gives you some status resistance. So that's nice, too. Gives you some evasion. Not bad. Not bad against the Chen creeps, either. So this would 100% should be a halberd. 100% next item should be a halberd. It not only helps you, who else on your team's threatened by TA? Do you know these matchups? What other hero on your team really gets hurt by TA, like Blink Meld Striking, as opposed to any of their other heroes?
Jug?
Yeah, Jug. Is Jug scared of anybody else than TA on their team?
No.
No. So you're helping your Jug as well by buying this halberd.
Right.
How often are fights going to go well now that I mentioned it when you go first?
I think I die every time I start a fight.
Yeah, it's just not like you're going to blink in, they're going to Ravage, and this is going to happen. Right? So, it's a hard thing to learn. but you have to consider, just play it out in your head. You know, like, if I blink stun, is there a way this goes well, okay? And if you blink stun Tide, what happens? Like, say you blink stun Tide plus the TA plus the Luna, what's gonna happen?
Well, Tide's gonna get Kraken Shell.
Tide's gonna crack and shell and push R, right? like, that's what's gonna happen. So there's actually no universe, no execution threshold that could work with you going first here, with the opponent team all there. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it just can't be you. So this is an example where, man, that looked pog. 2-man blink stun. Dies. Like, doesn't work. And this is like, that is perfect proof to you, like, in how I can learn too, like when I play, where if I get like the perfect initiation and I lose anyway, maybe the answer is we can't fight them yet. Maybe the answer is I'm not supposed to go first. Maybe the answer is I don't have enough items yet. You know, whatever. Like, at this stage of the game, because of what I said, you're going to get ravaged, you're going to die to TA, your playstyle needs to reflect that, your items need to reflect that. If there's no item you can buy to do whatever the problem is, like deal with it, then you should just never go first. Like, that's how I look at it, right? That's the only answer. If there's no item to ever fix it, then you just don't. So when it comes to being an offlaner, I like to think about these things and then say, it works in every role, but I like to think, okay, my role in the fights, is there anything that can make my role better? Like, if I need to go first, is it a positioning problem? Maybe I'll look to go Shadow Blade on Axe, you know, like to set up my blink, or Shadow Blade on any hero with a blink, because it sets up my blink better. Maybe I'll look to go BKB, because if I blink in and I don't have a BKB, I'm just going to die instantly. Maybe I'll look to go Blade Mail, because the opponent heroes have to focus me in a matter of a few seconds, but the Blade Mail is actually impactful, because the heroes that focus me are supports, and they don't have BKBs, so I could kill the supports with me. You know, I'm just giving you potential run-throughs. The point is, though, going into this game, you have to quickly recognize that you can never go first. And that's something that... This isn't, I always say this way, but it's not meant to be, oh, I'm so smart, you're so stupid, herder. It's like, you can predict all of this just looking at their heroes and playing it out. You don't have to experience it, right? Like, sometimes you have to experience it. Sometimes, right? But the goal is that you have to experience it as little as possible. Sometimes, even high-level players, we have to get slapped in the face with a reminder of something we forgot or something we didn't account for or whatever. But the goal is that you can analyze these situations before they happen. And if you don't think about them ahead of time, you're kind of just going to play off of reactions, and you don't actually know what you're reacting to. You're kind of just like, you see your teammate getting gone on, you're going to blink stun. You're like, that's, as I told you, that's not going to work. But your teammate starts the fight. This could work. Is it going to work? I'm not sure, but I don't really hate that play.
Right.
Yeah, I don't hate this play. Like, could it work? Sure. Cool. Hey, it did work. Wow. Okay. Like, for me, it's like, if one of my teammates started the fight, by all means, I'm going to go and hope for the best. Because my team started the fight, I recognize I can't go first, I'll follow it up, maybe I'll die anyway. But hey, like, it's not a secret that the 2 fights you won, you didn't go first. Like, it ain't, you know, it's not me saying hindsight 20... Go ahead.
I didn't think of it that way, because I thought we just got lucky or something.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Like, it's amazing how often, like, 4 to 5k, 6k players can stumble upon brilliance, you know? Like, it just works, but you don't really know why. Okay. Let's see. So a lot of this session so far has kind of been about, like, your map positioning's been pretty good. So it's more so, you kind of mentioned this coming in, it's more so about the way fights are played. Based on who went first in that fight, are you going to win or lose?
Well, I went first, so I lost.
I hate to, like, look this smart, you know? Like, I don't want to look this smart sometimes, but, like, it's not a secret, right? I'm glad that this is a good example. I've never had a replay like this, like, in terms of that's just something I talked about this adamantly, and it's literally cost you every single fight, right? It's not a secret, right? It's just not. they have to be dragged away from each other.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be. If they're in a little ball,
Double kill.
they're gonna kill you all. Like, that's just, you know, a nice little rhyme I threw together here. Your team can poke and prod. You have Ember Spirit, you have Mirana. You can catch them and pull them apart with Disruptor. But look at their lineup, right? They have Chen, Luna, Tide. Like, you can't fight into that shit, like, directly. And with a hero like Centaur, when you go in, are you in?
Yeah.
You're
all
in.
the way.
So if you're the hero that goes in and you're in, against these type of lineups, you just can't go first, right? Like, but if it's a lineup where you can blow somebody up in the first few seconds and your team fight is better than theirs, by all means, like, draw all the attention to yourself and force a 5-on-5, right? Like, force it. So it's like, if you were the Tide, I'd be trying to blink in and forcing people to go on me, right? That's what I'd be trying to do. Or at least walk in, whatever. Like, whatever items I want to buy. I'm going to try to force the attention on myself so that the fight is clustered. Like, that's what I'm going to try to do. So in your case, you have to try to do the opposite. Okay.
I think I died again. Oh wait, I didn't.
So you had to use your ultimate, though. Not ideal,
Yeah.
but you did have to use your ult. Yeah. The answer to your question about items, did that pipe change a damn thing about what happened to you?
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not, right? And that's how you can learn whether or not an item's good or bad. Did that change anything? And the answer is no. Like, I still fucking died. I think I'm good on this game. I want to make sure you get as much value out of this session as possible. Do you have... I feel like we're just going to keep learning the same lesson. Do you have another game for me?
Yeah, the last game I played as Centaur again.
Cool. Hopefully we can see some similar situations, but maybe a different take on, you know, whatever lineups you have.
Actually, do you have another offlaner that you can recommend? Because I've been spamming nothing but Centaur.
I think Axe is very similar, but has different matchups. So you'll have, like, matchups where you like to play Axe. Usually it's just heroes I like to blink Blade Mail on. It's like when their supports don't have any saves, I like Axe a lot. Another offlaner is Beastmaster. He's like a mixture of Axe and Centaur, because he has the Axe opponent where he's looking to burst somebody with his ultimate, like, or with his initiation. But he plays lanes like Centaur, where he's, like, constantly pressuring the tower, utilizing that Hawk for vision. I thought Beastmaster got nerfed pretty heavily, but the hero's just super powerful. I, like, misplayed him pretty hard the other day, and it still felt really good. Like, I still won my lane against Sumail despite, like, kind of misplaying, so that says a lot. You know, the hero, I'm not bragging. It's literally like, wow, that hero just feels good. I'm like, damn, this hero's strong. The support on their team was, like, rank 300, so it made it easier, but the point is, like, whenever a hero's good in the meta, I like to understand why they're good. I learned, like, I did a bit of replay, so, like, on Beastmaster, what makes him nice is that if they pick an illusion armor-based hero, you just go axes, you go, like, 2-3-0 with no points in aura. And if they have no illusion hero, you just go the normal max boar into aura. And then if you go the max boar build, usually you go Helm Dom. If you go the Axis build, you usually go Necro. Just because for the Axis build, you need mana. For the other build, you don't need mana. So that's one real quick rundown. I do like Axe a lot too. I felt good with him. I like Bat a lot. He has some bad matchups, but if they're mids like a DP or like a Necro, I love Bat. He's really hard to play against, like, Storm and Quap and any of these, like, long-range gap closers that can burst you at any point. But if I ever get the 4th pick luxury, I love to pick Bat when their mid laner exposes themselves like that. Legion always feels like a win lane, lose game hero. Haven't really been a fan of her.
Yeah.
I tried Lycan offlane, Mars offlane. I think Lycan offlane can work if it's a decent matchup for you between the support. Like, if it's a support Wyvern, obviously you're not picking Lycan, but if it's a support, like, Silencer that doesn't have a stun and just dies to you when you push R, that's a nice matchup. Mars. I'm just giving you a bunch of options, but if I had to pick two, it'd be like Beastmaster Axe or Beastmaster Mars, probably, would be the two I'd go for. Mars got hurt a lot by the nerfs, but every time I lane against it, I don't know how to beat it, so... if there's a hero you can pick early and it kind of just wins its lane, it's pretty nice. Are you ready to move into this next game?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
sent you the ID.
Yeah, I saw it. I realized it after I asked. Like an offlane Omegalo? Dude, people are literally playing that shit in competitive, man. Don't Omegalo me. What?
People are playing it in competitive.
Yeah, there was a point in time where like Lycan was super fucking busted, and people were first rounding Lycan, and if it got countered in the carry roll, they just put it off lane. Right now, I think if like you're in a pub and you get like 4th pick off lane, dude, Lycan's dope, dude. I picked it, and the laning stage is kind of like mediocre. But the minute you get level 6, like your game's free and you get Helm Dom, you just like run at people or like Necro or whatever. You just fucking run at people. Pretty straightforward gameplay. Okay, so we have Centaur again. You're against Drow. Pretty annoying matchup in the lane. Not so bad later on. So you're against Drow, Nature's Prophet. So, do you know what Drow's base damage is? My point being is that it's about the same as yours, a little bit lower. And what's this lane going to look like between Drow and Nature's Prophet? Any idea?
I'm just gonna get hit a lot.
You're going to get hit a lot. So, I would usually... what item do most 5-position Prophets buy?
Lightstone.
Okay, so I usually go a second ring of protection here. Because literally 100% of their damage is physical, and you are going to get clicked a lot. Like, a lot. So, the point is that if you want to go Quelling Blade still, then literally start the game with 1 set of tangos and fly yourself more regen, you know?
Right.
I do think you need 2 rings of protection. If you're against a maybe slightly lower base damage hero, maybe you don't go Quelling. Like, maybe you're against Prophet PA, where you still want 2 ring of protections, but the PA has 50 damage, so you don't necessarily feel the need to have a Quelling Blade super early. I'm talking like, you know, level 1. You're still probably going to buy a Quelling Blade, but, you know, you don't need it at the very start of the game. Point being, though, is I always feel comfortable flying myself more regen, and there's been plenty of lanes where I just start with 2 rings of protection because I think I have to. And this is definitely one that's strongly considerable, and I would recommend you doing it. Yeah, they're just all physical damage. Literally all physical
30
damage.
seconds to battle.
Okay,
The
so...
battle begins.
even if it's Lena, even if it's a Lena 5, you know, like, I didn't know it was Lena, but she still, most of her damage is her actually clicking you. That's most of what it is. Okay.
Hello, I'm Gabe Newell. You've just achieved first blood. Thanks and have fun.
I guess you missed the D word, unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish you had that extra ring of protection there.
Hello, this is Gabe Newell. Thanks for playing.
This is a tough lane. You have a Pudge 4.
Which does nothing.
So... okay, this is a nice play, surprisingly. Belina was gone for a bit. Yeah, this lane just blows. Did your Pudge pick first?
Missing bottom.
Like, before you?
Yeah.
Would you say Centaur is or isn't reliant upon having a pretty decent laning stage?
I think Centaur can farm his way back. If he
But
lost
would
the lane.
you, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being he absolutely needs a good lane, 1 being it doesn't really matter, he can recover, where would you put him?
4 to 5.
Okay. I would put him around like a 6 or a 7. Like, I think Centaur with a bad start compared to Centaur with a good start is like day or night. Like, it's unrecognizable. So, the point being here is obviously you kind of got griefed, right? Your 4-position pick Pudge. That's like the definition of getting griefed by your 4-position. So, usually when I get griefed like that, I resort to, I'm going to be a creep cutter. Like, that's, so, like, one may say BSJ. Centaur, very clearly a creep cutter. That's why having a vast hero pool, or at least a wider hero pool, can help a lot. Could you think of a creep cutter that would fare better against Lena than Centaur would? Or Prophet, because you didn't really know.
Axe.
Axe would probably be better, yeah, because you can run at the Lena with Battle Hunger. Can you name another one?
Darkseer. Easy one.
Darkseer, I think that hero blows, so I'm not going to recommend Darkseer. I would say Batrider, because you sticky napalm the Lena, and if he tries to contest you, you just kill him. Like, you actually can just kill Lena. So, like, that's an example of why having more heroes in your pool is, like, so important. Because I see Pudge, I'm going to creep cut. I need a hero that deals really well with Lena. Because I'm almost certainly going to get lane countered, right? That's just how pubs work. You're going to pick your offlaner, and they're going to pick some carry that's good against you, right? So,
Right.
if you have to pick according to your backup plan. Like, sometimes the opponent's just going to be dumb and pick something bad against you, and then you'll lane. But you have to have an option if they pick a hard counter. It's like, if I pick Bat, I'm probably getting Slark or Peeled. If I pick Centaur, I'm probably getting like Gyroed or Drought or, you know, some ranged right clicker that's just gonna hit me a lot. If I pick Axe, I'm probably gonna deal with like Ursa or Monkey King or some shit. You know, like that's what's gonna happen. So the point is, if my hero does well against the support and I start cutting, all I'm dealing with is the support. So that's why I'm telling you to pick this way. Obviously, we're just trying to make the best of a bad situation when you have this stupid Pudge picker on your team. But, yeah, not much you can do about that part. We're just trying to alleviate the stress he has put on you by picking his hero. So let's see what happens here. I would probably, like, go 2 rings of protection and rush movement speed as fast as possible. That's what I would probably do here. I don't think Quelling Blade really matters, because when I'm against a Drow plus ranged hero, I'm not really hitting creeps all that often, because every time I go for a creep, I'm getting hit a lot. You know what I mean? You can't afford to go for these creeps very often. So you are cutting, which I think is reasonable. This is good. I would have considered dragging them straight down through the river rather than this, but I think this is fine. This pathing brings you closer to Drow, is why I didn't like this. So then you drawed it even closer to Drow and took like an extra 200 damage there. The way I look at this is I'm in a bad core matchup. I have a Pudge. I have to just evade their core as much as I can with the way I play the lane. So you dragging was fine, but then you dragging it to the Drow was definitely not fine. So I probably would have dragged it like either to like right outside of your tower range, like right here, or back here. And in that case, you're forcing the Drow to like make a decision. If she is going to be in lane against you, it's near your tower. She's never coming back here. So what this does is effectively deny a wave, but maybe you'll miss a wave. But you're like trading a denied wave with Drow. So all these options are reasonable. But the overall resounding message of you're trying to avoid the Drow with the way you play the lane should stand. And I talked about this to my Lich last week, where I talked to him about his relationship in lane to the opponent support. And I said, if you run into their support, you know, what's that mean for you? And based on the core matchup, how does that affect you? And so he kind of learned. I was hoping to teach him overall, like, do I want to run into their support? Am I trying to evade their support? And for you as a core, you should often think it's really important you pick good against their support, because there's no way you can dodge that guy. Because no matter what you do in lane, that guy's going to follow you, right? Like, that support is going to follow you around. But if you pick into a bad core matchup, meaning like the matchup the guy picked is good against you, you can evade that guy. You can evade the core, because he's preoccupied. He's dealing with creeps, right? He's not going to chase you all over the map. If he is, then he's missing creeps. So that's fine. And I always just try to think of my relationship to them. Am I trying to be in front of them all the time? Am I trying to evade them all the time? Am I willing to fight them if the support's not there? Am I willing to only fight them if I have my support? In this case, your Pudge non-existent because he picked Pudge, so it's like, that doesn't factor in here. All these things, it's like, that's what goes into the way I play the lane. Just something to think about with that. So,
Radiant's courage.
I'm not expecting you to win this lane, but you could make it less bad. That's what we're going for here. So you go for a Ring of Health. I think that's reasonable. You're not going to be aggressive on this Drow anytime soon. Looks like Drow's actually scared when the lane's near your tower. I think that kind of says a lot. You're against two squishy ranged heroes. They don't want to walk up against Pudge. You win Ring of Health here, but I already said the way you wanted to play the lane. I think Boots win lane super early, and you could have just evaded taking way more damage from this Drow, so the sustain wouldn't have hurt as much. And I think right there you notice the impact of not having Boots, right? Not Boots win lace.
Yeah.
Like, the way you're playing now, like where you've put yourself in, I think Ring of Health is reasonable. But you shouldn't have put yourself in this spot in the first place. That's like kind of how I describe this. And the reason why Boots win lanes go up in value so much here is because of what I said about your relationship to the opponent core. You're just evading them at all times. And you can farm more aggressively because you're able to evade them more effectively, right? With no Boots, if Drow has Boots, suddenly the range in which you can farm is just way less. I don't think a Ring of Health is going to save you from a Drow. Like, if you get clicked by Drow once, she's just going to keep clicking you, and maybe you'll TP, and that's about it, right? Like, that's best case scenario. You're not going to get away. So, the point being is, the Ring of Health, last lane, you weren't really killing Luna, and she wasn't really killing you, right? Mm-hmm. So, in that case, okay, play for max efficiency. Play for the sustain. Fine. I'm good with that. In this lane, she does kill you. Like, she does kill you if you get caught out of position. So, I ask myself, do I solve that problem by tanking up, or do I solve that problem by positioning? And in this case, it's positioning. You're not tanking up against the Drow, you're just making it so she can't hit you. In that case, movement speed. It's like, if I'm dealing with, like a PA, it's probably going to be tankiness, because PA can always close the gap on me. So movement speed doesn't do all that much. But if I have like an extra 4 armor or like a bracer, maybe she won't be able to threaten me or something. Or maybe I can trade with her better. Just giving an example there. Okay, so moving on. Moving on here. Moving on. I also think that the only way you win this lane, it's not by trading, it's by killing her, right? You're never going to win the trades. You have a Pudge. Even though I said to kind of discount, like, you know, neglect the fact that you have, like, just kind of forget about your hero on your team. He does kill, right? He is a kill hero. In that case, sustain, much less enticing.
Anyone here know what a
mobility and overall kill threat, much more enticing. So, that's another thing to think about. Is this a sustain lane? Is this a kill lane? Who's killing who? Who out-trades who? You know, like, if the lane's just played normally, who's benefiting from that? Like, that's when it comes down to, like, cutting or not. Yeah.
I think I got a bit tilted when my support picked Pudge.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. I get that. I really do.
Killing spree.
And a lot of people have this really negative mentality that's hard to break through. I'm going to tell you right now, it is hard. But I've learned that if I just accept the inconveniences that my teammate has bestowed upon me, I will come out way better if I just adjust to them rather than being frustrated and trying to play in the lane normally. Okay?
Right.
It's hard. It is hard. I know everyone in chat, if you're an offlane player especially, you know this feeling when you get that 4 that picks Pudge. But, like, you know, like, I had a 4 yesterday that picked Wind Ranger, okay? I had this guy fucking muted. Let's look at this game real quick. Like, let's just take a quick snapshot of this game. So I had a 4-position Wind Ranger, okay? How much in lane do you think a 4-position Wind Ranger does?
Not very much.
He hits for 49 damage, okay? Like, that's what he does, okay? And they had a 5-position Enchantress. What pick against 5-position Enchantress? You know, with no support helping me. I don't know. So I was like, I guess I'll pick a hero that kills Enchantress later. So I picked Batrider, okay? And in this game, effectively, let's just leave it at this, the Wind Ranger griefed me pretty hard, and I dragged the creeps, and I died level 1 with the creeps near my tower, and Wind Ranger got level 3 off of it. Okay?
Okay.
And I was like, and I'm still level 1. So,
Right.
what would you do in that scenario if you're against Weaver Enchantress and you're level 1, Weaver's level 3, and your Wind Ranger support's level 3? What would you do?
I would just let Wind Ranger lane against Weaver and I go somewhere else.
Yeah, I literally went bottom and played support Batrider for a few minutes, okay? And it's like, this guy inconvenienced me, but I can't lane. I literally can't fucking lane, okay? But the thing about Batrider, kind of similar to Centaur, is that they do have a recovery method, right? They do. You can't remove yourself from the game at a minute and a half in, right? Like, you can't just say, I'm going to go jungle at a minute and a half. That's like griefing the game, right? But I went bottom, and we actually got a kill on their offlaner, and I ended up pulling the camp for my team. Like, we were effectively tri-laning at that point, and I was still in the game. But I was technically an offlaner that was temporarily a 5 position, okay? So the point being is, I got inconvenienced the fuck out of. And the game was really annoying for me. The game was really hard, okay? And I just made the best of it. I was like, this sucks, but whatever. You know, I'm a Batrider. I'm going to stack some camps. And the point is, this isn't some, like, glorious speech. Did I carry this game? What do you think? Did I carry this game?
No.
Absolutely fucking not. I did not carry this game. But was I a liability in this game?
No.
No. And that's the goal, right? Like, if your teammate's going to pick some hero that griefs you, you're not going to carry the game. Like, that's just how it is. You're not going to be some all-star offlaner that's like 9-0-10, participating in every fucking kill and just owning the game. You're not going to do it. It's just how it is. And I've emphasized that if I just make the best out of any scenario, whatever it may be, I just win games, like, that I shouldn't have won. Like, that I wouldn't have won if I just tilted. Like, I've lost plenty of games in the last, like, month or two where I just tilted off the face of the planet and just ran at the lane that I knew I couldn't lane and just died. And I was just, like, out of frustration, right? I'm just pissed. I'm pissed that I'm supposed to be able to lane this lane, but my 4 position's a piece of shit useless, right? Like, I'm pissed, right? So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But rather than saying, God, this sucks, think to yourself, why does it suck? What can I do about it sucking? What's the least I can make this suck for me, you know? And then go from there.
Right.
And so that's why I'm like, okay, well, the problem is you can't lane against Drow. You're going to have to be cutting. That requires a lot of movement speed. You know, you're probably going to have to get clicked more than you'd like to, so 2 rings of protection at the start of the game. All of these are just quick adjustments to what this Pudge has effectively done to your game in a negative way. And you're building Centaur in a way, like your items right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I looked at your items, let's ignore the minute mark, okay? Like, just cover this minute mark up in your head and say, you look at your items, is this a good or a bad lane for Centaur? Based on your items. Like, ignore what time it is. Ignore what time it is. Is this a good or a bad lane?
Looks okay.
It looks like a good lane, doesn't it? Based on your items? Like, if you had these items at 4 minutes, would this be a good lane?
Absolutely.
Okay. My point being here is you built like it's a normal game for Centaur. Did you not? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
So, it's just that simple where if the game sucks, you can't build like it's normal. It's just like my Necrophos last game wanting to walk down lanes against a Shadow Demon. You can't do that, because if you walk down lanes against the Shadow Demon, you're going to get purged and die. Like, that's what's going to happen. So, you, like, every hero in the game has a way they want to build, a way they want to play. Like, great. But that's why counters exist, right? Because a certain hero won't allow you to do that. In this case, a counter could simply be that your 4 position picked Pudge, you know, like, whatever. You built normally, right? You built like the game is completely normal. And it's just not, right? You can't play Centaur the way you want to play Centaur this game. You can't do that. So if you build normally, it's just not going to work. Like, that's how I itemize, right? So you're about at the bracket, you know, low 4K, 5K-ish, where you can really start thinking about items and adjustments to be made. You know, I'd say about 4K is where I think mechanics have come together. You know, like, they're pretty good. You know, your mechanics are going to be pretty solid. There's always room for improvement. I'm still improving on mechanics, you know, all that kind of stuff, but I don't have to solely focus on mechanics and efficiency and all that stuff once you hit about 4K. So it's like, at this point, I want you to start thinking, do my items reflect how this game's going? And I look at yours and I ask you, I'm like, do these items look like a nice Centaur game to you? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, is it a nice Centaur game? And you're like, no. So it's like that those things should definitely line up. So
Dire's bottom tower is under
okay.
attack.
Moving on. Same idea as the Luna before. You got your ult, which was nice, and you were forced to use it. But without your ult, you don't threaten Drow, and she threatens you. So naturally, the support's going to rotate to your lane. Maybe you're thinking I'm going to get 6 right now, which is reasonable, and you were hoping they wouldn't go on you, and if they did, you'd get your 6. I'm just making sure you understand. Similar situation where you don't threaten her, she threatens you. They're probably going to rotate, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you popped ult. Definitely have to play way more passive now. I think this is reasonable. Dude, yeah, okay, you're going for the... Okay, I see. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing? But that's fine. Walk back to lane. Reasonable. Okay, paying attention to the fight. Careful, you're getting clicked, I think. Oh, you're not. Okay, he was being nice and not clicking it.
Radiant structures
Okay.
are fortified.
Okay. Making some decent recovery here. I think your items coming to what they are is absolutely fine, but I think it should have been Waylace's phase and then that Ring of Health. Because now you're farming, aren't you?
Yep.
So doesn't Ring of Health look like the item that serves what you're doing now, rather than what was happening earlier in this game, right?
Right.
That's what like really tells me your understanding of the game, and that's why order of items can matter so much in terms of how skill level works in this game. So coming to these items at this point, fine. Usually, most heroes, when they're not in a good game for the hero, will arrive at some similar build. Okay, you know, like it's not like because it's a bad Centaur game that you just drop everything you know about Centaur, but usually the way you get there is going to be a bit different. So for whatever reason, this whole recent moments, you were playing like around here. Like this was about your circle. I'm drawing your circle, right?
Right.
Why did you step outside of that circle? I'm just wondering. Like, why did you go cut rather than just... right. Rather than just farm this creep wave that's pushing into your tower right here? I'm just asking, like, why did that change for you?
Because I saw the supports went away, so I thought I can farm a bit more aggressively.
Okay, I see. So, my question is, are you kind of scared of Drow? Like, is that reign true?
If I have my ultimate, I'm not too scared.
But if you don't have help, are you solo killing this guy?
No.
Okay. So without help, which means it's not here, you have to be scared of him because you don't scare him. Do you see what I'm saying
Right.
here? And also, let's look at their heroes real quick. If you are out of position and Drow clicks you, how quickly can 3 of their heroes be, or like a total of 3 heroes be here?
2 seconds, I think.
Yeah, like Storm TPing and Ball Lightning on top of you, Nature's Prophet globally teleporting in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the only time that you threaten this Drow is if you have a +1. So the time where you play like you threaten Drow is when you have that threat, right? So if you want to play up like this because you have a Pudge or a Viper or a PL with you or whatever, great, play like this. But the situation doesn't fit this. So nothing's changed here. Like their heroes, like sometimes if they have super immobile heroes, like, and like the amount of time it would take them to react to you and shit is long and you could just ult away, great. But I also don't want to have to expend my ulti that way. I'd rather like play passively and the minute I get a rotation, immediately flip that switch and run at them, right? Like that'd be great.
Right.
Just think about that, right? Like I would say that nothing changed here because of the heroes they have. Like I understand your thought, which kind of makes sense. Like in certain games that would apply, but in this game it doesn't. So just remember your thoughts in general are pretty good. You know, like in terms of your aggression in that lane versus Luna, in terms of where you play on the map, in terms of like you want to go first in fights with the Blink Dagger, in terms of like you see supports leave, so you want to be aggressive. But in some games, that shit just doesn't matter. Like if you want to go first, but you're against Tide TA because a Centaur, you're just gonna die. It's like you want to be aggressive because the support's left, but they have a Storm and a Nature's Prophet. It just doesn't matter, right? Like that specific knowledge of the game can't be capitalized on in this particular game. So I want you to realize that your thoughts in general are pretty good, but exactly when to apply them, not so good. So that's where I think the trimming up of your play should happen.
Right.
Yeah, I was curious why you were being aggressive here. You do end up just ulting and walking away. But yeah, now you can't do that again. The price of you not having your ult means that you have no aggression on this drow now, and you can't play aggressively and farm. So, like, it's nice to play heroes with an oh shit button, because it's like, if instead of dying, I can use that oh shit button, but it doesn't make your play that forced you to use that oh shit button necessarily fine, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
If you were a millennial,
Like, I think you'd appreciate having your ult for your Viper there, or even potentially here. Point is, moving on, don't have your ult. You played aggressively on Drow because they just went on mid, great, fine. I'm fine with that play, because they literally were on mid right there. Bit different than last time. Same thing here. Doesn't make sense. You know, stop playing with bigger balls than your heroes got. You don't have those bigger balls yet. Like, I would say if this Drow leaves top, you should feel good to do that. I would also be calling for rotation on this Drow. Rather than continuously playing scared because of what I tell you, I also tell you, you with a +1 kills this Drow. I would have asked for a rotation. If you're not getting one, what does that mean for you?
I think I did ask for rotation, but then the Pudge says I'm an idiot, so nobody came.
Okay, I see. In that case, are you ever making an aggressive move up here?
No.
No. So that's just the other, like, this is a 16-minute version of what I said of a Pudge picker at 2 minutes into the game, right? If your aggression requires you to get a +1, and you just don't get it, your option is to just act like you're never going to be aggressive. You know, like, that really is your only choice, right? If your aggression requires you to have an extra guy with you, and they just refuse to show up even if you ask your team, at that point, I'd probably mute Pudge, maybe my entire team, and just play my game. And if it's within your limits, you do it. If you can't do it because your team isn't helping, you just don't do it. And accepting that kind of shit wins so many games. I lose so many fucking games because I or one of my teammates just gets real flustered because the game's not going the way they pictured it, and they just fucking walk down a lane and die. I do it too sometimes. I'm trying not to do it. I think I've gotten a lot better on it. I think it's actually a big reason why I'm gaining MMR recently. Like, I think it's why, because I just stopped walking down lanes. So it's like, accept your limitations. It's a big deal. Think about the conditions for what's good for you. If you can't go first in fights like last game, don't go first. If you can't pressure because your teammates refuse to rotate to you, then play passive. Yeah. This is a bit different, but you didn't really have any vision of anything. But yeah, the game's just hard. Sometimes you're going to randomly feed because they have a Shadow Blade and your team never shows up. I think it's similar to last game. I think you're kind of defaulting to the same items. And because your game's not an ideal start, if you want to go that Ring of Health to sustain, great. But I think the Vanguard's just too much. Against Drow, it really doesn't change much. Against Storm, doesn't really change much either. You're gonna die to the same shit. When I say it doesn't change much, you're gonna die to the same shit. Right? Like, if they go on you with 3 heroes, they're gonna kill you. Whether or not you have a Vanguard or not. It doesn't change anything. So that's the emphasis I have with my items on any role, but especially offlane too. Like, you know, you want something that can change the game for you or your team. And any item that doesn't do that, you usually don't have the luxury to buy that item. Super early Vanguards, the reason why they're so potent is because maybe it's not even possible to fucking kill you if you have that item. That's like the beauty of rushing it like that. Let's rewind here. I was busy giving you a speech here, so let's... Your team's top, you have a ward, D-ward, you see Lena, you get the kill. You see Prophet bottom. You see Storm, I think. No, I think that was just a bug. So your Pudge TP'd out. Your PL's bottom. They're all missing. You don't have ult. This is definitely just way over ambitious of you guys.
Right.
But
A dominating performance. This is Gabe Newell.
that's a hard one to just say no to when your support does that, but are you content with farming happening in this game? Like, if both teams are farming, is that, like, okay for you? Why or why not?
I don't think I want them to get too farmed because once Storms gets a lot of items, it's impossible to kill him.
Okay, so
Yeah, so
both if both teams are farming, is like, are you okay with that right now? Like, if your team is also farming, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
I guess a better question would be, until you have Blink, how are you killing this Storm?
Never.
So, are you content with both teams farming right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, because your answer was, I don't want Storm to get fat, but if there's literally nothing you could do about that, then you're content with both teams farming, okay? Like, and you farm until you get the ability to kill him, right? And that's like a great way to know what item you're supposed to go. And that's a great way to know maybe this Blink Dagger being delayed by this Vanguard's a big deal. Like, that's a problem, because you felt like you needed to kill Storm, and this Vanguard doesn't change anything, right? So that can adjust your item build as well. If you're in a game where you're not farming nearly as much and you're looking to kill, I'd probably recommend a 4-1-4 build rather than a 1-4-4 build. I think this is like a I'm farming a lot build, while maxing stun is more of a I'm blinking around stunning people kind of build. So what I've noticed so far is that your item build and skill build are pretty much always the same. And like I said, all that tells me is you're not adjusting to a game at all. So that's where 4Ks and 5Ks usually run into a wall. Okay, that's usually where they run into a wall. Because what happens is, if you do the same item build and skill build every game, how often is it going to work?
I guess until I face a situation that I should have gone for something else.
Yeah, it's going to work anytime it was supposed to work, but that's kind of random. Like, it could be sometimes good, sometimes bad. Maybe 8 out of 10 games it's good, and then the next 10 games, 8 out of 10 games it was bad. So you're going to go on, like, 8 out of 10 win streaks, and then you're going to lose 8 out of 10, because it just happened to be based on those drafts, it was good or bad, right? So that's usually where you 4 or 5K players run into this wall. So, yes, I know there are players out there that can climb going pretty much the same build every game. Like, there's 6K players that get there, right? And the point of you, I want to be very clear to you and everyone else, like, I understand this. I've seen people make this point in my chat too, and it's like, it's not something that, like, bothers me or whatever, but I think it is a bad mentality. The point of this is that if you start thinking about this shit, it's not that you absolutely need to think this way to get better. You're going to get better way faster. Like, that's what I'm going for. Like, that's what I'm getting you to do, is hopefully do. Because not only is, like, adjusting your items and shit gonna, like, it's not just that you're building better items. It literally tells you that you know more about the game you're playing at, like, the current moment. Your items fit the way you want to play. So you're never stuck in the situation where I need to kill Storm and I don't have my Blink yet and I have this Vanguard. Where I want to, like, I can't, like, Vanguard to me says I want to farm. You don't want to farm right now. You literally just told me you want to kill the Storm, but you can't. So it's like, the reason why you can't is because you don't have a Blink Dagger. So that's why itemization can be so crucial. And if you think about the game that way, it may not be perfect to start. But if you start, all I've noticed is when I start thinking about this shit, it just comes to me eventually. Like, I will still mess up. I will still, like, especially if I'm learning a new hero, or especially if I've never played a specific matchup before, whatever. Sometimes I'll still learn. But if I'm actively thinking about it, then my mistake will usually not be repeated. Like, I won't do it the next time I'm in that matchup, It's like, I just got done... What was my matchup I just played? I've played Pangolier and similar heroes into Anti-Mage, and it's felt annoying. And this game, I was like, well, I'm going to have a bit of sustain issues, but I need to be able to swashbuckle. So, I don't want to go first... If I go first item Solar, I'm just giving you an example of how I think about lanes, okay? So, I was against Bane Anti-Mage as a Pango. Sounds kind of annoying, right? Like, that sounds... not too fun. I'm going to get hit. I'm going to lose mana. I even called at the start of the game I wanted my Wyvern to come top bounties so that we could go on the Anti-Mage and force him to blink. Nobody heard me do that, but I called that. Why is that important? Would you say Pango is strong or weak level 1 compared to level 2? Like, is his power spike at 2 significant or kind of just meh?
I think Pango's level 2 is pretty strong.
It's very significant, right? So, would you say level 1, Anti-Mage with Mana Burn against Pangolier, who's favored?
Anti-Mage.
Okay. At level 2, Anti-Mage with Blink and Mana Burn and Pangolier with Swash and Passive, who's favored?
I think Pangolier.
It's at least about even. Wouldn't you agree? Like, both heroes have some threat on the other guy, and if Anti-Mage can't just blink on me because I can Swash and disarm him. Most likely disarm him. Point being is I knew the matchup was really bad level 1. So I called for a rotation at the very start of the game to make him blink. And then I'm like, okay, now the level 1 matchup's not so bad anymore. I can make it to level 2 past that. And then I was like, well, I ended up going Soul Ring this game. I don't think I've ever gone Soul Ring on Pango. But if I go Soul Ring first against Bane Anti-Mage, what's going to happen to me? If I just rush Soul Ring.
Going to have mana to swashbuckle.
What?
You always have mana to swashbuckle away.
But if I go at first, what's going to happen, though? If I go first item Soul Ring. Do I have the health sustain to deal with that? Like, aren't I just going to get health sustained out of lane here? Like, yeah. I'm just going to get hit by Bane, right? Like, a lot. So, I ferried myself extra regen, I got this item first, and then I went Wand. Because even though it's not ideal, I do need some item that gives me mana, and I even flew myself a couple mangoes. Because I'm like, this isn't going to be enough, but it'll be nice. Because it gives me a little bit of sustain in both fronts. And then I bought some mangoes so I could swashbuckle at any time. And then I went Soul Ring. So it's like, this is my adjustment. I'm like, I know I want a Soul Ring, but if I go at first, I'm just going to get clicked a bunch. So I need to solve my health mana problem, or my health problem first. And so when I flew my Soul Ring, I also flew myself... Do you see it? Where is it? I guess I used it too fast. It doesn't show. I used a salve right here. I guess I can't... Is there any moment I can see it? I had a salve here, and I flew it out to me right when I got my Soul Ring. Point is, the point is, like, I was like, okay, how is this lane matchup going to go? Have I ever built this exact itemization on Pangolier before? I have not. I have never built these exact items. But it was all me just saying, what's this lane going to look like? I need this item to deal with Anti-Mage. I can't go at first because I'm going to run out of health. So I go items that allow me to, like, get past that early stage first. And then I get to this item. And then what do my items look like as a Pangolier? Like, do these items now look normal to you? Like,
no, it looks pretty normal.
That looks super fucking normal to you, right? Like, I'm not reinventing Dota. I'm just trying to get to a point where I can play my hero normally, right? And usually as an offlaner, this is a very important skill, right? Because you're usually getting counterpicked. You're usually going to be in a bad matchup. But if you can get past that point in the game with some sort of impact and get to your normalization as soon as possible, you're at your bracket especially, you're going to be so much higher impact than most offlaners. Obviously, I think you'll probably do pretty well in lanes where they don't counterpick you. I think, based on what I've seen, you'll probably do pretty well because you're building standard items and you seem to be pretty competent on how to be aggressive. So now, in games where you're going to get counterpicked, which is out of your control, right? Like, you're going to pick first, and the guy is going to either counterpick you or not. And if he does counterpick you, which he should, this is the skill that's going to come in. Obviously, this applies a lot more to offlaners than any other role, because you're, at least in this current, like the way all pick works right now, you're going to get counterpicked. So all I'm saying is don't be afraid to look outside of the box and be like, you know, what items do I need to get past this early game? And then now that I've gotten past that bad stage, when can I start playing normally, you know, as the hero I am? And if you never can do that, you probably picked a bad hero against their support. For whatever reason, I picked Axe against Oracle one time, knowing that, you know, Axe's main way of being aggressive on the support is Battle Hunger. So why would Axe be bad against Oracle? Because you Battle Hunger him and he just pushes Q, and then you're like,
It's gone.
And then you're like, oh. And I did it one more time. Like, I was like, God, I'm so fucking dumb. Right when I picked Axe, because I was panic picked because my team, like, swapped roles, and then I had, like, 4 seconds to pick my hero, and I just picked Axe. And I was like, I know this pick is dog shit. I was like, I know this pick is bad. And the game just went, my game was nightmares. I was a fucking useless piece of garbage. So, like, the point is that this first comes in the laning stage where you pick your hero against a support. Your hero has to be able to function against the opponent's support. And so I think your game's already going to be pretty difficult playing against Prophet or Lina. I think it's already going to be kind of difficult. But the minute your Pudge picks, I'm like, okay, I'm cutting waves. Like, I'm going to be cutting. I'm probably losing my lane. But I also have a kill threat, so I wouldn't mind picking... most of the cut heroes can kill, like, at some point. Axe, Centaur, Bat... Most of them can kill. I think the Darkseer, even if it was a good hero in the meta, I wouldn't really like it because it doesn't really kill people. So, with Pudge specifically, since you're going to lose your lane, I wouldn't really... I want to also envision a point where, even though I'm going to lose my lane probably, I have to envision a point where I could do something. So if I have a killing for, like, Pudge that's completely useless, I'll probably pick a hero that, once they get 6 or 7 levels, I can maybe kill somebody. Right. Okay, so... a lot of things to think about there. But yeah, so this skill for you, I think, will go a long way. Because...
I think sometimes I do switch up starting items, like when... It only happens to me when the opponent picked Ursa or Monkey King down to be like, shit, I'm gonna need a lot of movement speed. So I'll start Windlace, Rush Phase, and then go back to...
And that's one of those situations that's very black and white. Your core matchup, if you get hit by the opponent, you lose. In this situation, it's the way I portrayed it to you. By the way, I saw my Ring of Protection here. You're against Nature's Prophet. My next thing I want to say is, like, so I believe it. I believe that you can apply this in a 1v1 vacuum. But I want you to envision the game as a whole, right? Like, and in the early game, the exact way you want to play the lane based on the support and shit should matter. And when it comes to your pick, that's why it's so important to pick good against the support, because that gives you some way to play. Like, it may not be great, but you'll have some option. You'll be able to play your hero in some capacity. If you pick Centaur against Lina, it's not game losing. Like, I don't think the pick's terrible. Like, you're gonna try to cut. I see what's happening. Like, I get what you're going for, and I just ask myself, like, yeah, I know Drow's not nearly as bad as, like, Monkey King or Ursa. But it is a similar idea where if Drow is able to come over and click you, it may not be that you die, but it's not good for you. Like, that isn't the situation we're looking to create. So if that's the case, at that point, is there any item I can build to avoid that situation from happening? Or alleviate the problem. So, like, in my case, I knew I was going to get clicked a lot by Bane. I knew I was going to get hit by Anti-Mage. There's really nothing I can do about it. So I built items to sustain through it, and then be able to swashbuckle despite getting hit by Anti-Mage. Like, that's what I did, right? So in your game, in this case, the Windlace boots would have been really nice. So let's check this out. So you have your Blink. Probably would have bought a smoke right here. Like a quick kill on Storm or Drow.
Is there any...
What's up?
Sorry. Is there any support that Centaur absolutely cannot play against? Because I don't think there's any.
Witch Doctor's real rough. I don't know if I'd ever pick Centaur into Witch Doctor. I hate it against AA. I don't like it against Oracle, because he can Purge or Retaliate.
Right.
I'd say those are probably the worst ones.
Okay.
I probably would not pick it against those. AA, just because the way you want to play later on in the game, like showing in lanes and shit, you just blow up. So I think I've said enough in this coaching session. Yeah.
Right.
Do you have any final questions before we wrap it up?
Not that I can think of any at the moment.
Okay, cool. Do you feel like you learned something that you can take away from today? You can be honest with me, bud.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely with the item builds.
Okay.
The starting item. I've been going default for a bit too long. it's always like Facebook Vanguard and then Blink, and then I'll start, and then Crimson, and then I'll start thinking after that.
Okay,
I guess
gotcha.
I could start thinking a bit earlier.
Well, I disagree with you because you went pipe against TA. I'm just giving you shit, bud. But yeah, so I definitely gave you the way I want you to think about the game, and my goal is hopefully you can ask yourself those questions and answer them in your own way every game. So that's the goal, man. Hope it works out for you. Thanks for signing up.
All right.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you. Thank
Have a
you.
good one, man. Bye.